So my name's Chad Philippi. I'm an alcoholic. I guess the story begins when I was 9 years old. My dad died, and I guess dealing with a lot of the pain of his death is actually the story of me dealing with my own recovery. My dad was a very spiritual and religious man. Incidentally, he was also a drug dealer and an alcoholic. In the summertime, my brother and I would go visit my dad, and there was a lot of foot traffic in the house. People coming by, buying marijuana, and I always thought it was interesting because my dad would not let them leave the house until they accepted Jesus Christ as their personal savior. He always had his Bible, also always had a beer in the other hand. But I still saw my dad as a great man, you know, and I just really thought that he was doing the Lord's work. And the summer before he died, he really made a point of getting my brother and I to accept Jesus. And he took a bunch of us down to the river, my uncle, me and my brother, and some of his friends, and he baptized us all in the river. And, you know, I just pictured him like John the Baptist out there, and thought he was great. When he died, it left a huge hole in my heart. And I remember when I was 14, I got invited to a party at some friends' houses from high school, and just immediately when I walked in, I smelt alcohol and marijuana, and it was like I was just cradled, like I was back in my dad's arms, and I started using every day. It was the pain was gone, you know. And then when I turned 21 in Vegas, I was doing 6 years in the Air Force, and that's where I really learned how to drink. Everybody did in the military. It just seemed like the thing to do, so that's what I did. And from that point, it seemed like all the memories that I had of my dad were just these great, fantastic memories. And like him fighting with his girlfriend or with his friends never came into my mind anymore. It was like he was just this great guy that I remembered. And once my military service was up, I became a really successful mortgage broker, and I just felt like I was on top of the world, and I was making crazy money, and I continued to drink every day, so there was absolutely no problem with my life until the crash of the subprime market, which really pulled the rug out from under everybody's feet, and we shut the doors of the mortgage company, and so I was jobless. I was borderline homeless. A bunch of my friends from the mortgage company kind of threw a farewell to the industry party out in Estacada, and went out there, and I was packing up everything, made sure I had my supplies. I grabbed an eighth of weed, an eighth of mushrooms, 2 cases of beer, 8 ball of cocaine, 4 Percocet, 4 Oxycontin, and 2 tabs of ecstasy. And I looked at my case and was like, that should definitely get me through the weekend. Might be a 3-day party, so grabbed all that stuff, and I think 1 change of clothes, and made it out the door. Little did I know that I'd barely make it through the night. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, to stumble into the woods to try to pick up some kindling. I remember I took a step down off a 2-foot ledge, and that I didn't see in my path, and it kind of spun me around, which led me down a 40-foot ravine where I was tumbling backwards, and I was trying to cry out no, maybe my friends could hear me, something, and I just remember hearing like no repeatedly in my head, like I was trying to stop myself. And the first 20 feet I just tumbled, and then the last 20 feet was just a straight drop down to the river, where when I came to, I noticed my head and my arm were hanging out, but I went to roll myself out of the water, and I noticed that my thumb was actually dangling below my watch band, and I think the shock just kind of brought the tunnel vision in, and sent me back to a safer place where I just closed my eyes and waited for rescue. But, after that, I spent 3 days in ICU. I had my brain was bleeding and hemorrhaging, and I was getting CAT scans every hour. And once I was home, I spent about 2 weeks in between the couch and the bed, just trying to recover. I'd get really sick if I stood up for too long, and just dealing with the concussion and everything. A month after the accident, I found myself back at the scene where I just wanted to see the cliff that tried to take my life, and kind of come to terms with that, like man versus wild or something. But I remember sitting on a rock, and I felt like praying, and I did, and I sat there, and it was like I closed my eyes, I just put my hands up and was like, why God, why am I here so low? You know, like rock bottom was just beckoning me, and um, I was like, where do I go from here? And you know, I can't do this on my own anymore. And I just heard this voice, like so clear and like authoritarian in my head, like you know, like a father, just stopped me. You know, I dropped my arms, I sunk my head into my chest, and I was petrified. Like fear ran down my back. I'm like, oh, was that real? You know, but it was just this. It was the voice of God, and it just said, like, stop. And it took me a couple minutes. I looked up, and I could see one of my Nike Shockers, you know, that I bought for the trip, just sitting there towards the edge of the ravine with with the bandana that I've been wearing that night, and it was like this wreckage just strewn across the earth, and that was my path, that was my life, was going down that ravine over and over, and if I continued to do life on my terms, on my own, like that was my destiny, was down that ravine, you know, and I mean, it completely changed my life. So I got into recovery, into 12-step, and that's when I learned, you know, how to come to terms with my addiction, and the pain that I was actually covering up this whole time was my father. And it was that I missed him so much that every time I got stoned, every time I got drunk, I could see him in the mirror. I didn't miss him. Through the grace of God and the 12 steps of AA, I came to terms with that, and came to terms with my addiction and my pain, and I left it all at the cross. You know, I just dropped off my baggage, and now I'm just grateful because every morning I wake up to my life and my wife and my daughter, and I get to kneel at the cross where all my baggage is, where I don't have to carry it anymore. I'm like weightless from that, and you know, I get to look up to the loving arms of Christ and just say thank you, like every day.
And I will try to fix you.